thank you again for being a part of the show and making the time to sit here with me.
Thanks, Vic. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's informative and it's enjoyable.
So where I wanted to start is your basketball journey and your first earliest memory with basketball. What got you into the sport in general?
Good question. I was in the period back in the 60s, 70s where you played in the street. And we had a garage door, a wooden garage door, and all our neighbors, including ourselves and my brothers and I, we had a basket nailed on the roof that we would tear down a slam dunk ball, and my dad would have to remount it every day. Mm-hmm. But we would play in the driveway all day. And whatever the sport was, whether it was basketball season, we played in the driveway, or we played in the park with the neighborhood kids, or if it was football season, we played flag football or touch football, and then baseball season, we played over the line at the school, our little elementary school, Foster Road. Mm-hmm. So as a kid, we were always, playing in the driveway. That's what you did. My first organized basketball, I was actually fortunate in 5th grade at Foster Road High School. Pretty predominant Latino community, but we had a guy that coached a little club team, and the Foster Road Spartans.
Okay.
That was my first green uniform, playing some organized basketball, and we would go play some of the other elementary schools in the Norwalk La Mirada. So most of my experiences as a youth was that at that just neighborhood. That was my first organized. And then in junior high, they had a league called the NJC. Mm-hmm. It was National Junior Collegiate Basketball, and it was played at John Glenn High School.
Okay.
And I was on the Warriors. I had a twin brother. Mm-hmm. We were backcourt mates, and I was the point guard. He was the shooting guard. And we played in that little John Glenn league. We'd practice a couple of days a week at Garden Hill, little elementary school, and then we would play at John Glenn High School. So basketball was kind of the thing I gravitated to. Mm-hmm. I was a really good baseball player too. Didn't know anything about football really, but basketball, I just kind of fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever have to choose whether it was in high school or a little earlier between just doing basketball, or were you able to do basketball and baseball for a while?
The seasons didn't overlap in those days, so we were fortunate. I was able, my first year, in fact, I tried to get the boys to do it too. I was a good baseball player, but much like both of them, we're used to this fast-paced, up and down, quick reactionary game, and baseball got boring.
Yeah.
And it got slow. And even though I was a catcher, I was the only kid in my 5th grade team that was a catcher, and nobody wanted to do it. And I said, sure, I'll do it. And I actually liked it, but and I never played again until 9th grade. I stayed with basketball, and in the 9th grade, I said, yeah, I'm going to play baseball. And I was an outfielder, and I was pretty good. I had a good season.
Yeah. What was high school experience like in basketball, and how did you develop in that?
Basketball was interesting. La Mirada was such a big football school. We were turning out players that were going to Notre Dame and University of Washington and high major guys. We have a guy in Jim Huff who was a neighbor. He played for the Minnesota Vikings. He was a Hall of Famer, and he was known for what are those weight things to see how much people can lift or whatever. And he won a whole bunch of contests like that. But La Mirada was a big powerhouse football community. And up to 9th, 10th grade, we were awful. All the football guys played basketball. Yeah. And in my day, very few freshmen, sophomores played varsity basketball. You just weren't physically mature. Mm-hmm. I was blessed that a guy named John Moore came in. He was a coach. He played at Cal State LA. He coached at Cathedral High School. And he came in, and he was strictly a basketball guy. We had a football guy at La Mirada that was coaching basketball, and he wasn't a basketball. And then we got blessed with, we had a big 6'8" center that was Bambi on ice his first couple of years. And all of a sudden, by the time he's a junior, he's one of the top recruits in the West. Okay. And he played at USC as a 2-year starter, and then he played all throughout Europe, mainly Germany. Mm-hmm. And so we were lucky we had a center, and I played with another really good 6'4" shooter named Jeff Brewer, who actually turned down. Doug Wardfeld, they were both runner-up CIF Player of the Year. In my day, there was only 4 divisions: 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. We were 3A. And I got lucky. I had a shooting guard and I had a post. No shot clock.
Oh,
know?
man, yeah, that's right. Different era.
So you played in the 50s and 60s at the most, and it was
Right.
really almost keep away a little bit. And as a junior, I was the first sub off the bench. Our team was really good. There was a guy that was a little more physically mature, but as a senior, I was starting point guard, and there was an honorable mention all-league guy, and had a great high school experience. Much like the boys, they played in gyms and rivalries. You know, our league was Linwood, Downey, Warren, Cerritos, Gar. You didn't play a high school game that wasn't sold out. It was really a big deal. And that region in the 70s was really good. I mean, the league had like 8, 10 Division I guys, and a couple. Linwood had 2 guys play at UCLA, Tyrone Knowles and Daryl Dollums.
Okay.
And the best player who had bad grades, he played at Kansas State.
Wow.
So I was in a good era with that, and I knew that. You know, I was a good player, but these guys were Division I prospects. But we came in second both years when I was in high school, and I was blessed that this coach came in, John Moore, and we ran the old triangle offense. Tex Winter, Phil Jackson, and we had the center to do it. So we were very, very detailed and kind of ahead of our time. Everybody was running passing game motion, but we ran the triangle, and it was great. I had control of it, and it really educated me. And it was funny. I was showing Coach Jason today at IVC that, hey, we used to do this in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 50 years ago.
Right.
You know, or whatever. But I was showing some action that might work for us. But
Okay.
yeah, but I had a great high school experience, great crowds. We were very successful. We were 21-5 my junior year, lost in the Elite Eight, and then my senior year 26 and lost in the 8. We went 2 rounds.
Okay.
And we weren't quite good enough to win it all. Yeah.
While were you growing up, did you have a favorite player at the NBA or even college level that you got to watch? I don't know what watching games on TV was like back then.
Yeah, definitely. When I was really little, like in elementary school, you know, the Lakers were so good. That was back in Jerry West, Will Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Jimmy McMillan was the forward, Happy Hairston, Gail Goodrich. You know, I'm that old. And Gail Goodrich, a Hall of Famer, I believe. Jerry West, of course, Wilt. Elgin Baylor, they're all Hall of Famers, and you know, I wanted to be Jerry West. I just, you know, he had that quick pull-up jumper, and he was long and wiry. My elementary coach said, no, you play like Elgin Baylor. You like to hang in the air and slash and do stuff like that. But definitely the Lakers then, and then later on in life when the Lakers got in the 80s, in the Magic era, I was a big James Worthy fan. I think he's extremely
Goggles, right?
Goggles, yeah, could really run and fill lanes, and was really a critical part. You know, everything was Magic, and Kareem, but James was one of my favorite players. He was number 1 pick out of Carolina at the time, and he was a senior when Jordan, I believe, was a sophomore. So I was definitely a Laker fan during that period, and loved how they play. Big Pat Riley fan. I know a lot of people, they used to have that coach's corner in the NBA, and they were talking about, you know, the best coach ever. And Reggie Miller said, or somebody said Phil Jackson, and Reggie goes, he's not even the best Laker coach. Wow. Pat Riley's the best Laker coach.
Right.
And I have a tendency to agree with him a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm a Pat Riley fan.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever got to watch the show Winning Time on HBO. It's a more recent show.
Maybe.
Okay, but I did like, it's kind of like a mockumentary. There's some true aspects to it, but they also dramatize other things. And I really like, I don't know who the actor's name is, but the actor who played Pat Riley, I thought did a really nice job. And I really like the storytelling because I didn't know he came in for, I'm drawing a blank on the coach before him, the very successful
he died
analytical guy.
He was Paul Westhead.
Paul Westphal. I think.
Paul Westhead.
Or Westhead?
And,
yeah.
And he came over, I think, from Marymount. He was all about run and gun and getting
fast pace.
Fast pace and stuff. And Pat Riley was old school. He learned from the Ibas, the whole Kentucky teams, and they were smash mouth, tough nosed, big, Midwest, guys that smash mouth and were really physical, So Pat came in and came back, and that was part of Magic's complaint was that, hey, we can't win it all unless we tighten up.
Right.
And he had a lot to do with Paul Westhead, being removed from his position. And Pat came from the booth, of course, and had all that background from his Kentucky days.
Right.
So turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it turned out pretty good. So going back to your playing days, how did you go from La Mirada to Cerritos College?
Yeah, in those days, everything's different. We used to have spring leagues and summer leagues. So they recruited two of my teammates, Aristotle Myers. We had a big, strong 6'5" center. He actually came in my senior year from Philly, and he was sent out. His uncle sent him out to live with his aunt and uncle, who was a sheriff, and they wanted him out of the city. But he couldn't play football, and he's a horse, and we needed a center my senior year. My junior year, our center had signed and gone to USC, so it worked out really, really good. But I'm sorry, your question again. Say it again.
How did you go from La Mirada to Cerritos College?
And so they recruited those two guys, Jeff Brewer and Aristotle Myers, did not recruit me. So they had tryouts. So you would go to these spring league workouts and train, and then you'd have spring games. And they'd throw you in, and it was at East LA, Cerritos College, Cypress held one, Long Beach City. So, I just kept coming back. There were some guys that had higher accomplishments than I did. But we say this a lot, as the court got bigger, I was better. I was fast, I was long, I was wiry, I was quick off my feet, and we played a little faster. So I could pressure the ball, I could zigzag the ball, and I was well coached from my high school coach. So the other two guys that they really wanted from Warren and Downey were big scorers, but not great facilitators.
Gotcha.
And then they had some social things, so off the court issues. So I was able to kind of work my way. I just kept coming and trying out. And
Nice.
The next thing you know, I was able to make a roster. My first year, I was redshirted. We had three really good point guards. Lorenzo Romar, who was the Washington coach, he played about 6 years in the NBA, and he was at Arizona, and now he's an assistant at LIU, and he played mainly for the Golden State Warriors. And then we had another guard named Willie Soundsma, who was an All-American at Northridge, and the third point guard was the baseball coach's son. So I was out of luck.
Yeah.
And our baseball coach was a Hall of Famer. So
Right.
I waited my turn, and then my next year I played sparingly as a freshman, not a lot as a freshman, and as a sophomore in and out. In my sophomore year, we were really good. We went to the Elite Eight. In fact, I'm probably one of the few coaches that in the 3CAA that was on a team that went to the Elite Eight and had a team go to the Elite Eight. So that was cool. And then Coach B winning a state title. So we played at Cal Poly Pomona, and unfortunately I didn't play, but we lost to Cypress. Mark Eaton, big Mark Eaton, 7-footer for Utah, 7'4" guy. So we lost at Cal Poly. Interesting enough, I spent 2 years coaching at Cal Poly Pomona before I came to Irvine. So my college career, I knew that the guys that were playing for me, they were better. My sophomore year, our starting point guard was a 15-point guy at Portland State. Our starting off guard played at TCU. Our center played at UCLA.
Wow.
Our small forward played at Gonzaga. The talent was high in that region, and if you weren't one of the 12 roster spots, that's all they allowed you to have. And so I was really, I understood. There was no gripe. I was lucky and blessed to be on the team. So my college career and time was really enjoyable. Would I like to play more? Yeah, but I didn't. They were better.
Yeah.
And we were good, and we won the conference and went to the Elite Eight. So I have no gripes.
Okay.
So
After your time at Cerritos College, how did your coaching journey begin?
Yeah, I enrolled at Cal State Fullerton, and I was only recruited by NIAIs in Division III. So there was, I really wanted to go to Chapman or Northridge. They were D2s, but they'd signed other guys on lesser teams, but had more minutes than me.
Gotcha.
So I get it. It was understandable. And I was only recruited by Oregon Tech, Redlands, Whittier, schools like that. I didn't want to go to a small school. I did. And when I went to some of those visits, it was hard for me to get my head around that I didn't see it was a step up.
Right.
And it wasn't. Our guys, I would go work out with them and go, oh my gosh, we would drill this team. We would beat this team bad.
Right.
So that bothered me. So I walked on to Cal State Fullerton. Coach McCorn and Phil Matthews, who was the Riverside coach, saw me playing hoops with their team.
Oh.
And then I walked on. Tough deal. George McCorn was a tough guy. And I got a phone call from my coach, Forster, who was the head coach, Bogdanovich was the assistant. And he said, hey, Jerry, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm walking at Fullerton. And I said, I'm working on my PE degree and get my teaching credential. And he said, well, do you like it? And I said, no, I'm miserable.
Oh,
I hate it. So at that point, I decided, he goes, well, I've got a job for you. I think you'd be a really good coach. So he goes, come on down to campus, let's meet. He gave me a clipboard. I'll never forget, it was from Indiana. Indiana something. University of Indiana he had gone to. And he said, go see Coach Cockrell at Paramount High. And I started in 1980-81, right at junior college, coaching frosts off, 6 a.m. in the morning.
Wow, 6 a.m.?
Yeah, and then I'd drive to Cal State Fullerton, go to classes.
Okay.
And then head to the varsity practice back after.
Okay.
Yeah, and Paramount High, first job, Paramount Pirates.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what was that adjustment like going from a player to a coach?
I don't remember it difficult. It's, for some reason, I couldn't, I wasn't a great student. My retention not high, but for basketball, one of my good friends is Ramey McCarthy, who was at Utah and some other places, and as an assistant, and he was the head coach of Moore Park. He was just inducted to the Hall of Fame. He goes, Jerry, you remember every action, every player. And I go, I can remember those things. But the other things, I'm not so good. And I just had a good retention, so I picked things up easily. I could remember the stuff we did. I can remember the drills we did. So I was able to implement, the stuff we did that they were capable of 9th and 10th graders to do.
Right.
And put it in, and it seemed, I never felt confused or lost. But I always had the resources from Cerritos. I could always go back and ask them.
Gotcha. Did you always know you wanted to be a head coach at that time, or when did that kind of flip switch in your mind?
I bounced, like young coaches do. I went to Paramount. I was an assistant. I went frost off at Sonora. Then I went to Tustin as an assistant varsity. It's all part of the journey. But I knew I wanted it. I got lucky with a coaching break. Cerritos was the premier program. I mean, Cerritos, El Camino, Long Beach, they were Pasadena probably as well. And my head coach became sick, got a rare virus disease, Guillain-Barré, had some paralysis. Interesting enough, my sister was his midi nurse, and she told me that, hey, your coach is here. He's got a really bad virus, and he's paralyzed, and it should come back. Coach Bogdanovich got appointed the head coach. He knew I was coaching. It was late in the game. It was already like June. And he didn't want to try to train somebody new that didn't know the philosophy. So his thing was, hey, Jerry, why don't you and Liz come over and have dinner with Millie and I, and let's talk about it.
Okay.
And we had dinner with him. He said, yeah, we'd like to offer you, if you can get in a master's program, we can give you a class, we can get you teaching and get you a stipend. So that got me into the college level, and it got me, up to the top where everybody's struggling to get to those levels.
Right.
I was lucky to fall, one of the premier programs.
Okay.
And that's with Coach B. So, that's how I got into the college level quickly. At that time, quickly. Now guys move up so fast, but a little different.
Yeah. While you were there at Cerritos College, you also had the chance to be a part of 2 coaching staffs that won the state championship.
Yeah.
What were those experiences like, and what set those teams apart from other teams you've coached?
It's what's, when you step back and look, everything's, Cerritos has great talent. And we did. Pasadena had better. El Camino had better. I mean, Long Beach was as good as us. I just fell in line. Coach Bogdanovich, when he got the job, everything I had ran offensively in the 4-man motion, he changed. We had all athletes, and he changed it. And he went to more of a drive and penetrating offense that was interchangeable, and he was just that guy. He was that innovative. So I got in with him. That coaching with him, his words were always timing, tempo, spacing. Everything was a rhythm. He'd always say that you're like an orchestra leader, and it's offense is a fluid and it has rhythm. And he was such a calm effect. I wish I would have been more like him many times. But those were the things I was able to learn from him. And he was innovative, and he was such a great detailed teacher that he could implement something right away. And he had such a calming effect on the players. And again, that's something I think my Latin temper got a hold of me. It would flare up sometimes when things went wrong, but looking back, that was the beauty. I was lucky that I could really learn about spacing and timing, intent, and tinker. He liked to tinker, and he saw this play, and he thought this might be good, and he could implement stuff like that. And that kept us one notch ahead of some of those other schools, and never rattled, never, he was so poised. I always tell people he's like the wise old owl. He just sat most of the time. He didn't say a lot. He didn't use any profanity.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, different gentleman for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but didn't get real close to players either.
Right.
He kept his distance. He knew his job, but. Yeah, those are the things I take away and were able to put in right away when I got the job at Irvine.
Now, you coached at high school and then you coached at the JUCO level.
Yeah.
What were some of those difficulties? Because the JUCO level, sometimes you do have a player for 2 years. Sometimes it's less. There's such quick turnover. What are some difficulties that level presented? Fortunately,
I mean, in high school, didn't have a lot of ownership. I was never the head coach, so I was always an assistant. So I didn't have some of those, issues. I was able to develop with my time in college. I had more input actually in college than I did. When I got the job, as young as I was and as a little experience I had coaching, my first year we had 7 Division I players. We were 29-3. We got upset in the playoffs. We were the number 1 team in the state. And, Tom Tolbert played 6 years in the NBA, and it's our center. I didn't know we were that good.
Yeah.
I was so naive. I told Coach Bogdanovich, I go, Coach, I would play with him. I go, I don't think we're that good. And he laughed. He goes, yeah, we're pretty good. And again, like I said, not 3 guys go Division I. We had 7. I mean, like I said, Arizona. Tom Tolbert went to the Final Four with Steve Kerr and Sean Elliott and he wasn't the best player on our team. Willie Joseph was our best player, who made most of his money in Australia.
Okay.
Those I had more ownership. My first year, I coached the post guys, surprisingly, and the only thing Coach B would say, "Hey, don't screw up Tom. Leave Willie alone." And a lot of coaching is leave them alone, see what they can do. And we had guys that could do stuff like that. And Tom had a great turnaround jumper, and Willie could do everything. There's nothing he could do. So there was a lot of coaching. And then I later went on and coached all the guards, all the point guards and off guards.
Okay. Now, how did the opportunity come about, if you could take me through, the phone call or whatever it was back then at IVC, and how the opportunity came about?
Yeah, that was just blind luck, to be honest with you. I'd heard Irvine Valley. I'd been applying at places, but I had heard Irvine Valley was opening. And Bill Mulligan was the coach there. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's known for his UCI teams, and he was the only guy who had a winning record against Arcadian in Vegas. And that job opened, and I had been applying at places. I was a runner-up at Cal State Fullerton. I was a runner-up at University of San Diego. Couldn't quite get a job. I was that next guy, and I didn't want to relocate. Had some opportunities out of state, but when the Irvine Valley job opened, I called Bill Mulligan. He started the program for 3 years. He wanted to give it to his son. And his son said, I don't want anything to do with these JC guys and wild, guys like that. So it left the job wide open. And I called Mike Bolkowski, who was the Chapman coach for years. He was Mulligan's assistant. I said, well, you asked Mulligan what he thinks of me. And he calls me back, and he goes, hey, Jerry. Well, he goes, Mulligan really likes you. He goes, he hates Bogdanovich, but he really likes you.
Okay.
And he said, here's his number, call him. So I applied. I told my wife, Liz, I had a job where I literally signed to do sales. I was getting out of coaching. I was chasing, jobs all over the place. And with Mike Bolkowski, I said, and I told Liz, well, with Mike telling me, hey, you got a shot, he likes you. I told Liz, I'm going to apply for this last job. If I don't get it, I'm out. I'm done. Time to have a family. I was already 35. And so when the pool were all guys that had way more experience than I did. Don Frank, who was a great coach and was assistant at Santa Ana, won several titles at Orange High, won 2 titles at Rio Hondo College, where nobody thinks you can win. Popovich from Marina was Bo Brummels. This is Tim O'Brien, who was really successful at Tustin High, Estancia. Reiner Wolf, who played for Mulligan, had just won a CIF title at Tribuco. And here's the guy with no head coaching experience. And I go, honey, I don't think I'm going to get it. And as we went through the interview, it was really interesting. One of the things I said, and I don't know if it helped, I think it did, I said, I'm the only guy here that has a winning pedigree and knows how to win the state. Now, did I ever think that? But none of those other guys had done that. They were always successful. But the guy I worked for, he won it 3 times in 9 years. I mean, there's a philosophy. And being affiliated with Cerritos and Coach Bogdanovich opened up the door. And I interviewed, and sure enough, to my surprise, they said, hey, we'd like to offer you the job. And it was part-time for 1 year, and then the next year went full-time.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was a crazy journey. It wasn't like, because I was really the least qualified, to be honest. I mean, other than being with Coach Bogdanovich, but I didn't have a head coaching experience.
Right, compared to the other coaches.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, they were really successful. I was lucky. Right place, right time.
There you go.
Yeah.
What was the biggest difference from being an assistant to a head coach?
Yeah, the worry was, I'll never forget my first year, is that when you came in, well, several things happened when I got the job. Mulligan gave me the returning roster, and as I looked at it, and I go, oh, cool, okay, we got 5 or 6 guys, 7 guys, whatever. I get there, and I call all these kids up, and I go, hey, Coach, we're going to Saddleback. Hey, Coach, we're going to Saddleback. I had 1 player in June.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, I go, holy tamale, I didn't hire the assistant that he had. I said, well, look, I think I hired Dave Bragg and Phil Henderson, I think was my first year. It might have been Joey Yazbek, but I said, look, I don't know you. I have people that know me, and he goes, well, then I'm taking all the guys to Saddleback. And I go, well, so be it. So my recruiting class from Cal Poly Pomona, when I was there, I was able to circle back and pick up and kind of ragtag, a whole bunch of guys that I'd recruited at Poly and bring them in, kids from all over the place, and made the playoffs. We were 17 and 16, made the playoffs, and did really well. All good guys. I had one player I knew really well. Josh Porter was our best player. He played at San Luis Obispo. Yeah, really good player. But yeah, then when I did get on the court, you're wondering, okay, are they going to listen to me? But with Coach B, he gave us, I sat in the office with him as we write out. He taught me how to prepare for practice, how to write up practice, and I knew the sequence of drills, A to B to C, and I literally implemented almost everything he did the first couple of years. So I wasn't, once I knew I could, they would listen. It took a couple of days max, and then it was easy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to talk about, because we can go year by year, but that would take a long time, right?
Yeah.
But I did notice when researching up some of your stats, that 2008 to 2013 span, you had a chance to take a team to the state. You were ranked in the top, 10 a few different times. Yeah. What was so special about the run that you had during those years?
Several things come to mind when I look at that. Recruiting is, your wins and losses come in recruiting. The big issue, and I think at every level, but particularly in junior college, who are you going to be? Are you going to be a guy that's going to go out and get them from here or there and compromise yourself and tolerate behavior? And we just never done that. I didn't have that philosophy. So I wanted guys that wanted to get a degree, wanted to go to school, that wanted to be coached, that were decent human beings. We take once in a while, you take somebody a little rough on the edges, but the core of your group. So in your recruiting, it had to be, I just wanted the right character. Everybody most of the guys can coach. It's what they say, it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmy and the Joes.
Right.
And you have good personnel, you're going to win a lot of games with that. And we've seen both ends of that. So that run, I got a little blessed. I was able to get Darrell Norman left Antelope Valley, a good 6'4" wing. Travis Fulton came in, who played at Northern Arizona. He was our starting two guard. Joe Eberhard was a high school kid from Coronel Del Mar I had recruited that went to UC Irvine. Got a weird groin injury and had to redshirt and wasn't real happy there. I was able to bring him over. And so we had a great 6'6" 3-man. And then Travis Fulton came over from a friend of a friend, said, hey, you got to go play at Irvine Valley. And he ended up being all Big West player Pacific. And then I ended up getting two really good players sitting next to a club coach at a CIF playoff game with the boys. And Ephraim Ekenham, he went up to Ontario Christian, a big 6'7" center and a really good 6'4" wing. And I ended up getting those two guys. And it just a little point guard from Moreno Valley fell in my lap. And then Max Courier came over. He was a friend of Travis Fulton, who played at Rancho Verde. He left College of Idaho, and I just got a good chemistry of 6'6" kids, and and a quick little point guard. And we had depth, we had strength, we had skill. They could all pass it, they could all shoot it. We could really rebound it and defend it. So that run, I got a little lucky with guys like that through that period without compromise, if you will. And we all know if you want to get to the state, you're going to have to work in the gray a lot.
Right.
And it just wasn't me. I didn't feel comfortable with that. So, like I said, now I had some rough years my last, few years, and it made me really appreciate that run. And getting to the Elite Eight was always the goal. The first year I got there to the Elite Eight. Well, the interesting, both years when we went back to back, Mount Sac was number one in the rankings in the South regions, and we beat them that first year. I think it was 2010, I think, and we beat them at their place. And the following year we beat them again at their place. So to go to the Elite Eight, the second year they had a cost containment, so it was really a Final Four. But we had to play Citrus at Citrus, and we lost a close game at Citrus to go to the Final Four. But yeah, it's there's you look out there when I go to these coaches meetings, and you go, so many good coaches never get there. And for me, I just wanted to get there once. The first one, 2010 in San Francisco, I wish I had a do-over in that, because all the film I saw of San Francisco, they were hard man-to-man, pressure way up. They came out and get stuff and went soft and switched everything. Oh, wow. And it just stifled us. Wow. We were down 15.5. And I think we lost by 6. We made a good little run, but I was pulling straws out of a hat trying to figure out what can we do, because we weren't prepared for that. And I think they went on and won it. I'm pretty sure they went on and won. They were really talented. But if I had a do-over, I would have been a little better prepared. Right on. And then Citrus we had most the next year when we went back to back with Sean Donovan, again Joe Eberhart and some of those guys, Christian Mack. I think Caleb Hatcher was there, played at Montana State Billings, Ephraim. I thought, we were winning most of the game. We went down the stretch and we gave up a putback, and all of a sudden we're down 3. And then we missed a little layup with about 30 seconds left. We had a foul. So, yeah. And now that coach, Chris Victor, is the head coach at Seattle University. Wow. Yeah, okay. Doing really well. But yeah, it good memories, and it was nice to go to Mount Sac and beat a big school like that and a number 1 seed. Their athletic director and dean is Joe Jenham, who played for us at Cerritos. Yeah. Okay. So that was fun. He was kind of bitter.
Nice. I bet. I also wanted to ask too, because when you look at the all-time state champions, especially during that late 2000s, early 2010 run, there's Saddleback there, there's Riverside City, there's a lot of teams not only in the OEC but just in the Southern California in general. What was it like to compete against some of the top talent in the state every year like that?
No, it's things I think about now that, I had the opportunity to coach against so many Hall of Fame guys, and most of them were in our league. And so our power ratings were also high because when you got to league, you're playing a contender all the time. But Dana Padgett was at Santa Ana before Dave, and incredibly good. He went to back-to-back state championships, and then of course Bob Schumerhorn at Riverside had all these East Coast guys, and they were so talented. And going to Riverside is a crazy place. It's loud, and they got the band going crazy, and so that was always exciting. And then John Smith came to Riverside, and he was a great coach. He won a state, and obviously parlayed that into eventually San Luis Obispo job. So, I had an opportunity with the Hall of Fame coaches right in your league. Dieter Horton went that 37-0 team, and we had them beat both times. We had a shot both times to win it at their place and at our place. So, yeah, that's exciting to know that you can compete at its highest level against the best people, and most of the time it's right in league. But the Phil Matthews, but the biggest rival for us at Irvine Valley was, Saddleback's the big school.
Right.
We're the little sister school. That's the way we were. The small, had less money, less facilities, less everything. So our rivals were with Saddleback. That's our district, and we at times felt like we were the second-class citizens. So coaching against Andy Grant and Bill Brummel, we both believe that the best shot you can get is in the post. And we always played through the post. So we had games at times that the halftime score was 18-19.
Okay.
And we're just beating the heck of each other. And neither one of us will give an inch. And so, it was really nice when we could go to the big school and beat them at their place. And beat them several times when they were the number one in the state. And kind of knocked them down a little bit. In fact, the year we went to the Elite Eight, Perry, we played Saddleback 3 times. We beat him 2 out of 3, and Perry was the point guard. Perry Webster was the point guard in that team. They went on. We lost in the Elite Eight. They went on and won it, I believe. And I think Perry might have been the MVP of that. But at least I can say that, he played the best of the best.
Right.
Whether it was LA City or outside of the conference or Ventura. We beat Ventura twice when they were number 1 ranked. We could get some people sometimes, and that was satisfying. Do you want more? Yeah, you want more. But I don't feel like I missed, I dodged anybody or anything like that. We played the best of the best. But Saddleback was definitely the rival.
Yeah. So the next question I kind of wanted to ask you and kind of transition into coaching both your sons. Right, we're gonna have AJ or Anthony sit next to us. But I guess the first question, because obviously you got to coach Anthony first. Was there any influence for them to come to IVC from you, or did you kind of let them pick wherever they wanted to go?
I would think for them they grew up in the gym, so for them that's home. I mean, these kids were in diapers, jumping off the bleachers and throwing balls at each other, and it's interesting now to see our Jason Gary, the new head coach, who was my assistant. He has 3 little boys, and they're doing the same thing. Balls are flying, they're hitting wiffle balls, and so I think they just knew they were coming there. I know schools would like to have them, but I don't think there was any question that they were coming to us. So. Yeah, that wasn't an issue.
And what were some of the challenges of not only being their coach, but then also being their dad at home?
It's interesting. We really weren't. I know some people look at and they have challenges. So I've had people ask me, what's it like coaching your kids? And I said to them, excuse me, I get 2 more years with them.
Yeah.
So I get to drive back and forth to school. We can talk about their life, about school, about basketball. And I had an opportunity to have them as coaches. Their IQ's high. They've grown up with this game, and they know my system and our philosophy, and they give great input. and coaching was easy. The hardest part is when they didn't play well. You hated to see them down. You know, it was kind of a bummer, but what a joy it is to, regardless of where their high school careers, what happens is so many kids get so wrapped up in their high school accolades, not everybody gets to play or make a team. College is different. The game's different. It's way more cerebral, way more physical. It's faster. You have to be a smart guy and sharp and talented. So, my comment to my wife Liz was, hey, I can get them on the team. They got to get themselves on the court. And that they were skilled enough and capable of doing that. I had a parent ask me, he said, my son plays kind of a combo guard too. He goes, your son's a combo guard. And I said, hey, this isn't Little League. I don't play like, if he's good enough, he's going to play. I wouldn't be here meeting with you if I didn't think he was good enough. So, I just treated it that way. And everything they got on the court, their minutes they got were earned. Because I love my sons, but I like winning even more.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. But it was great. It was a joy to see them both make playoffs, to see them play together and win. Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, what more? How many dads get to do that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're lucky.
I did want to ask you a question, Anthony, if I may. What was that experience? What were some of the highlights of your time playing at IVC under your father?
That's a good question. I think it just felt very full circle, the entire experience of just like you said, we grew up in that gym. We didn't do the YMCA or, we had people babysitting us or whatever, or like, stuff like that. But, it wasn't like, hey, you're going to the YMCA every day. It was, hey, you're going with dad to work and you're going to run around the gym and, just don't break anything. But it was very full circle, just the entire journey of it. I think I think about a lot how, when you're competitive, you can't really turn that switch off sometimes, just when you get put in certain competitive situations. Sometimes I wish I could turn it off, but you just can't. So I miss that. I miss, being in competitive situations a lot and just the high that you ride of that. I miss the day-to-day of, getting in the gym, getting shots up, and then going to the weight room, and then going to play pickup, and then going to the beach with some of my, favorite teammates after and stuff like that. Like just, all the stuff we did to make ourselves better. Like it was so much fun, like in the process of that. And hopefully that was somewhat on point. Remind me of the question.
No, it was just, what were some of the highlights? And I think you answered that.
Yeah, no, and just make, I think any, team sports is like, the people you meet. I got to, do it with my brother. I got to, gain more brothers that, were not my blood, and people that, I still call and keep in touch with to this day that, it's just so special. That's what team sports does, and I miss a lot of that. And just IVC is such a, even from an unbiased standpoint, it's such a healthy, well-intentioned program. Understanding of its role, and understanding that development of young men and basketball players is at the forefront of anything else. And I don't think anybody's done that more successfully than IVC and at that program. So
appreciate that. Well, thank you for doing that. Going on to the rest of your career, right? Was there ever, because you retired recently,
I did.
Was there ever a time that you knew you were going to retire, or was it kind of like a surprise moment?
No, definitely not a surprise. I had it in the back of my head as I started approaching, and I knew my wife Liz was retiring at 65. And, some of the things, I got into the job full-time late. So financially, until I was 36, 37, I was, part-time. Other than my 2 years at Cal Poly, I was a part-time coach and juggling and refereeing and doing whatever you can. And to keep yourself keep your head above water. But I definitely at 65 I was thinking that was the target. I was going to collect my full STIRS retirement. I had my years in that I needed, and several things that Jason was there. He's ready. He's really sharp. He had taken a charge with me. He'd been 14 years with me, and one of the things I probably should say this, but Coach Bogdanovich was not great at making phone calls and pushing opportunities. I had to probe him a little bit, say, hey, we call this coach, I'm applying for this job or that. And, in the old days, you didn't do that so much. And so I wanted to make sure that when I was coaching, that I didn't want to be that guy that's 80, hanging on, just out of ego, and, trying to get all those milestones. I had a few goals. One of them was to get to the Elite Eight, and the other was to get 500 wins. That was as I got closer to that. But really, other than that, I didn't want to be, selfish that way. And I didn't. I mean, I'm no saint for that, but it's like he's ready. It's his turn, and I wanted to make sure. When Cyprus opened up, I had two friends over there, and they said, "Jerry, we're opening up our basketball program. We need a good guy. We want a good coach and a good teacher." And I go, Drew Ahadif, no brainer, slam dunk. He's really good. He's smart. He's a good person, and he was able to win that job. And then, Dave the Santa Ana, I didn't help him at all. That was more his resume from Mayfair High. And then, of course, being a Cerritos guy, and he had 1 year with me in college. So, hearing that on his own, and he's a terrific coach and really good. It's when he gets personnel, they're really good. But sometimes they don't, always get the personnel. So, but I just thought, could I have gone 5 more years? The boys know. I tell them, I could have gone 5 more years easy. But pretty selfish, we get into this thing. Do I miss it? Yeah, I do. I miss planning. I miss the strategy to combat somebody else's offense and how we're going to guard it. And for me to attack offensively, how can I get one more action or play or something that can steal a bucket or attack? Yeah, I miss those. Yeah, a great deal with that. But like I said, it's my time. I'm done. My body's broken, and I can get my basketball fix. With Jason. If I want to go to Drew, Russ May at Cerritos says, "Please come down, help me." I mean, and that's really nice to do that. But I think that was my thought process. Definitely, I didn't want to wear out my welcome.
Gotcha. You mentioned those 3 other coaches, and that was a big reason why I wanted to have you on, because learning. I've been getting into this JUCO basketball world pretty recently, right, within the last 3 to 4 years, and learning that you had a hand in maybe not directly helping them get the job, but we're a part of Dave's journey, we're a part of Andrew's journey, we're a part of Jason's journey. I think that's speaks volume to you as not only as a coach, but as a person to the local basketball community, no matter how small or big or what level it may be. You had a hand in a lot of people's futures like that.
That was really important to me. I'm blessed that, and they're also grateful to more than they need to. And it's but it is nice to think. But really, we're all, the template was made from Bogdanovich and Bob Forrester, who gave it to me, and I've kind of handed it to them. I'm not sure on Dave, but if you walked into Drew's and Jason's practice, I'm sure they're using the template practice plan to organize yourself that we used at Cerritos College. So really, Coach Bogdanovich, we're all part of his circle, and Russ, I'm sure, is the same way. So that's nice. I'm glad that I could do that for them and have enough positive. Our reputation is good. They're good guys. I'm not. I can be a competitor and stuff, but I'm not abrasive, and I think having class and some dignity and running your program with, that your athletes aren't out of control and a win at all costs.
Right.
We all know, like I said, we all know how to win, get really good players, but some people win and they're not the best people, and I just didn't want to be that person. If it took less losses, so be it, and hopefully that helped, Jason and Drew and Dave get jobs.
Now, what's it like to watch both your sons, not necessarily the same role, but are in basketball? They're working in basketball and kind of following your footsteps in a way. Yeah,
it's really neat. It's what's interesting to me is how much they retained and how much they can they pick things up, and they'll once in a while go, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Or "What do you think about that?" And go, "Oh, that's pretty good. I didn't think about that." You know, a different angle, a different set. But I got to remember they've seen everything. They've seen every team up and down the state play, and fortunately they have an IQ for it, and so that's exciting. And that I hope basketball is part of their life their whole time. You know, it's for me, it's been a career. We don't know where AJ's is going to take him, or we don't know where Daniel's going to take him on some of the. But I've got a feeling that basketball, they'll be involved somewhere with somebody.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, before we end the show, I do like to ask some of these like fun, lighthearted questions, just to kind of get a little bit more of a personality from me.
Okay.
But if you can go to any place in the world, where would you go?
Oh gosh. Any place in the world. Oh gosh. You got me on this one. You get so wrapped up in the job. I know there's, we always love going to Hawaii. I love Hawaii, so I love the islands. Maybe Jamaica or something like that.
Okay.
Laying on the beach or being in one of those huts and getting room service and eating seafood every day. Something like that. At islands, the sun in that area. Probably something like that. I would like to see Portugal. They say Portugal, Spain is really cool. A lot of history. Italy. I love Italian food.
Okay, yeah.
So any of those places, I love to eat. And my father's son for sure.
Okay.
But any of those places, yeah.
All right. What's your favorite meal to eat after a game?
Oh, meal after a game. We used to go, you go to your little watering hole. I'm trying to think. Usually I eat something light. I'll usually have a salad or something after that, or some kind of chicken piccata or something like that.
Okay.
But usually something after a game, a little lighter, and have a drink or two.
Okay. Did you have a favorite athlete of all time? It doesn't have to be a basketball player.
Favorite athlete of all time? Oh, gosh. Favorite athlete of all time. I loved football. You watched, I grew up in a time where there used to be a show called Wide World of Sports. And you watched the Daytona 500, and you watched the Olympics. Favorite athlete? I'd probably say somebody like Carl Lewis, a sprinter, or Michael Johnson, something like that. I was always amazed at the explosion of those athletes, and just Carl Lewis went through a streak, the Jesse Owens, of course, in the old days. But as an athlete, I might say something like Carl Lewis.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last question: if you can give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh gosh, that's easy, very easy. Patience and poise.
Okay. Patience
and poise. If I had a do-over, I would step back, hold my temper a little bit more, be a little more of a calmer teacher. I think as my program, when it got to here and it went to average, I got a little gruff. I wanted to keep it here.
Right.
And I wanted to keep it elite. And I found myself when it became, a 500 team that I found I lost my patience. I lost my poise a little bit, and I wish I would have been a little more poised with that. Some of the things I tell Jason all the time: don't do what I did. I must say that every day, and Dan, you can attest to that. Don't do what I did. Here's my advice: keep it, be a great teacher, and it would be good. But yeah, that would be definitely
well said.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. As we
Awesome.
wrap things up, I appreciate you for being on the show
Thank
one more
you.
time. Appreciate you for Dan and Anthony and Boyd joining the show as well.
Yeah.
And like I said, I really mean that one. It's an honor to have you sitting here and
Thank
to
you.
get to know your basketball jersey, especially as I cover more JUCO basketball. It's cool knowing that you played a hand in so many people's lives.
Thank you. No, I appreciate having me. It's an honor, and it was really kind of you to ask.
Awesome.
Cool, man.
Awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.